real estate agents, welcome to the Weekly Closer. I'm your host, Jeff Underwood, along with my co-host and producer of the show, Joey Sampaga.
Yes.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty darn good.
Yeah?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Good. Your hair's kind of sticking up. You got that?
Oh, yeah. That's the style these days.
That's the style?
Not really.
Man, I was going to say, I don't want to be in style if that's the style. I'm just giving you a hard time, brother. Hey, we got Chris Bowers back with us in the house. How you doing, Chris?
Doing good.
Good. Chris is Bowers' team over at HomeSmart. And I think Rachel Turner got you in here again.
Rachel Turner. Yep.
Yeah, she's persistent.
She is.
Yeah, we actually went to lunch the other day.
Yeah?
Yep.
Where'd you guys go?
Just talking about business, life. We went to Mochilero, North Peoria. We kind of live close to each other.
Oh,
Yep.
Hadn't heard of it.
me either.
Good restaurant.
Yeah?
I wanted to go meet up, talk business, and
Cool.
here we are.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming back on the show, man.
Thanks for having
me. I know
me.
last time, agents, if you haven't listened to his first episode, I can't remember how far back it was, a couple months ago, I think now, but a lot of it kind of stemmed around your investments, you know, and kind of your strategy and how you bought so many investment properties over in Oklahoma during COVID and all that. So.
That is true. And we just kind of recapped it real quick with the first eviction. So kind of tell the good with the bad.
Yeah.
I think that's always nice to hear a con story with the pros. So last one was very pro. I think it's nice to note that did my first eviction. I was on a 7-year run of investments.
Wow. Yeah.
Finally, my first eviction. But I guess you just get a lawyer, follow it through.
There you go.
So
what kind of time frame in Oklahoma for eviction?
I wish I knew. I let him take over. All I know is I got a video today of some stolen appliances.
Oh, no.
And I guess the rest we'll figure out as we go, right? So if you're going to make a profit, you're going to have some negatives.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, as long as you're up, you're good. You still have an asset. That's what you got to focus on.
There you go.
Can't get lost in the weeds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to motivate myself right now. I just got the news like an hour ago as I was coming in here. And I was like, kind of a buzzkill as you're coming in to do a podcast, but
It's all right. It'll be good. It'll be good. You can just pick up some other, from a scratch and dent place.
there you go.
Yes.
There you go. That's what we'll do.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna work on that.
Why not? All right. Well, so I know today we're gonna kind of shift over to, sharing some goal setting because we're getting close to the end of the year, and I think this is something that agents, they kind of go through that process, or they should go through that process, right? Before the first is here, they need to get on it. So
Well, and it's interesting how we think of everything from like January to December. Like I don't know if it's just me or other realtors, but as I get to end of October, always beginning of November, I always feel like, oh, I got to do this again. But like it's our own like clock in our head that we're really ticking against, because really it's just another month. It's not as if like it's the end of your business and you're starting a new season. It feels like it, but it's really not. So I don't know. I go through these stages where I'm like, oh, I got to do this again. So you start reevaluating some of your marketing, start thinking about like what you're trying to accomplish.
yeah,
But it's always interesting how like a Monday resonates with people. Like, oh, that's when you start a goal, or on the 1st of the month, or January 1st.
Yeah.
It's like those 3 key dates in a year where you like recalculate things.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, me too.
Mondays.
yeah. So do you think that it's just that, end of the year, everybody's thinking New Year's resolution. So do you think they just automatically transfer that to their business and they, oh gosh, I got to do something new?
I think so. I just think it's like a natural, like a society thing that we have these, like anytime it's like, hey, I'm going to start eating better. And it's like a Thursday. I'm like, oh, I'll start Monday.
Yeah, I'll start
like,
Monday.
Why is that Monday? Or it's the 22nd. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this differently. I'll start on the 1st.
Yeah, that's
or
right.
if it's October, I'll start at the new year. I think we have these things where we just feel the need to kick something sometimes down the road. But I don't know why those are like actually the dates. Because I can think like any time that I actually start eating healthier, it's
Monday.
always a Monday.
Yeah,
but then
I
like
hear ya.
let's check in on
'cause
Wednesday.
it's, after the weekend.
So what I'm trying to figure out internally is like why we do that, and then how we can actually. I think those that produce more, they have like a recalculation every midnight, just to know like, hey, if I like had a bad day or I didn't do what I was supposed to, or let's say like you are trying to eat healthy and you had a cheat meal, or you're trying to be productive with work and you just had an off day. Like you can recalculate that every midnight. Like if you can internally figure out how to get that same drive of Monday, the 1st of the month or the 1st of the year, and just every midnight figure that out. I think those are the ones that actually produce more. But that takes a lot of
Staying up
like
till midnight.
well, it takes a lot of self-reflection. I think like when you're doing it daily like that, some can get overwhelmed with those thoughts of trying to figure out how to change themselves. I encourage it. I do it a lot, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah. So I guess if things are rocking and rolling, why even think about doing something different come New Year? You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like you said, it's just another month. So what's the big deal, right?
I think it's just your own goals. I think that's really all you're trying to do is like what are you trying to accomplish? Like I'll give you a story because I think like when you're thinking of goals, I like to first think what are not setting goals. So I remember talking to actually one of my buddies probably about 2 months ago, and he just got his real estate license. We were on the phone. He's actually asking me for some advice, and I said, "What are your goals?" And he's like, "Well, I don't really want to do as many transactions as you do." And I was like, I don't think that's a goal, you know? But like, I know what he was saying, but then I didn't. So I was like questioning. I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, well, I don't really want to do as much. And I was like, I don't know. Like, you might have accomplished that. So like, is that tangible? Like, do you really have, like, is that really a goal? And then it was probably 3 weeks ago, I had an agent come to me and we were talking about some goal setting, right? And I asked her, I said, well, what do you want to make next year? Like, and she's like, oh, I just want to make a lot of money. I go, well, what does that look like? How would we know we accomplished that? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, okay, well, how about 50,000? And she's like, no. And I was like, 200,000. And then you could see her get a little nervous. And I was like, all right, like the thermostat was there. That was too much. Like, how about 100,000? Yeah, that sounds good. But that was it for her, was that. And I think that she might have thought that she was goal setting right there. And I'm like, that was probably 5% of the goal setting plan.
Yeah.
And I think that's where most people stop. And I think you have a lot more to do to that when you're goal setting. But I think really like when you listen to things, it's just like, oh, dream board, put this stuff up on the dream board and like we're going to figure it out. And I think you got to go like much deeper than that. Sure. Like there's actually like for us in our office or for me personally, I have like a calculation for it on like how we reset our goals. And it's just through like a formula. I don't know if it would add up if I talked to like a math teacher, but like that's how I process it.
If we had a white piece of chalk, we'd let you write on the green board behind you. But
well, I feel like it's gonna like all appear as I'm saying.
It can start way up there and come all the way down.
So with like this gal that I was talking to, and she was saying like 100, like she said 100,000. I'm like, let's work that backwards. And so I think that's like the calculation that I don't think people connect those goals. They might have a dream board, or they might say like a certain dollar amount, but I don't think they truly have connected like the goal result, and there's a lot of nuance in the middle, and I don't think they like truly have it planned out. And I think once you have it planned out, it actually makes it much simpler.
Yeah.
I don't know if people want to go that in depth because it can take some self-reflection and thought. But like for that formula that we do, and I've been doing it for the last like 2 or 3 days, and we're not like solid on them yet, but we're really trying to like figure them out. Because once I do my goals, I really like I pray on them and think about them for like a week or two before I like say like that's it, because I want to make sure like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But it's really just trying to figure out first, like for most people, it'd be like, what's your burn rate? Like, what do you go through in a household? Like, what do you just like mortgage payment, car payments, whatever someone has? Like, that's the burn rate. And then you'd have to go into like the next layer of it. And like after burn rate, you'd also want to know like, what are your goals? Like you have to know like what you're trying to invest in. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to give back? Then you'd have to know like your tax rate. And like those are the calculations that I don't think people like really all factor in. They just kind of let like the world happen to them, and they're not really like back ending this whole entire thing. So it'd be like your burn rate, then your freedom money, then it would be like it would be burn rate, freedom money, having your goals, and then your tax rate. And we kind of make that as a formula. So like for us in our household, we know like exactly a month what we spend that goes out. And then we've got to know
for necessities, basically.
Yeah. Like it's just like a spreadsheet of like these are our necessities.
Yep.
And then we've got our freedom goal. It's like, hey, this is kind of like our like spend, like go out to eat, go on vacations. And then we have our goals, like this is how much we want to invest. One might say like this is what I want to give back to my church. Once you get that total, then you times it by your tax rate. So like we're in like a 39-40% tax rate. So we times that by our tax rate, get that number, and then we take that number and then we add it to what those three were before, and we say like that's kind of what we got to make in order to pay for our life and our bills, have some of our freedoms that we like, and then invest or do whatever goals you have, give to charity, and then give to the IRS, our government, and then that's what you have.
I like how the IRS was last.
Yeah, definitely. You got to come up with that. You got to come up with your tax rate, and then you just go from there.
Yeah.
But I don't think people are like diving deep enough in it. It's just easy for people to be like, oh, I want to sell 100 homes, or oh, I want to make $100,000. It's such a...
Well, if you think about it, where do people learn that anyway? I mean, people don't do it because they don't know it.
Right.
Is my thought. I mean, where do they learn that? You don't learn it in school.
No, you don't. And what's interesting, like in our industry, they give awards for like all these like I don't want to be kind with my words. They give all these awards for things that don't have they don't have to do
Highest
a lot.
dollar volume.
It's really, it has nothing to do with like P&L.
Number of units.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's all lost in the weeds. Like I would rather there be an award for
most profitable.
Maybe that, or just someone, not even most profitable, is someone who said like, hey, my goal is, it's not even a unit. It's like if someone said my goal was to close 7 homes a year because I'm 65 and I'm retired to give back to my church. And when I said like, what's your goal? And you're like, I wanted to close 7. I gave it all back to my church, the profits. And that was my goal. And I'm like, cool. Like don't get lost in the weeds with, 100 units, 200 units, 500,000, a million, 150. That's like, what was your goal and did you accomplish it? I wish we could write down our goals and there was an award at the end of the year. And it was like, what was your goal? Did you accomplish it?
Here you go.
You get the award. Because really, like, what are we trying to, like, get to? I mean, really, you're just trying to, like, pay for your own life and maybe help some others out along the way as you go. And I think everyone, like, there's business people that want to be in real estate because they want a 25% profit margin, and they don't really want to be a realtor. Like, that's cool. Like, if you're a businessman and you want to own a team because of that, great. Like, that's how you get, like, your joy. You got some people who just like love the client experience. They want to go help 12 people, be fully involved in everything. They love people. And you're like, cool, that's how you find your joy. And so I think like if just people really sat down and thought like, what am I trying to accomplish? They'd be better off. And I really think like come down to like, once you know your internal household numbers of what you need to make, once you know, that's like your burn rate. And then once you know your freedom number, hey, I want to take $10,000 worth of vacations. Then you know your goals, like, hey, I want to give back 20, 30, 40,000 to the church or buy an investment property. Then factor in the IRS. And you really will start seeing, like, it's a math equation.
Yeah.
And I got D's in school when they put these, like, all these riddles on the board. And they're like, what's X times Z to the second power? But, like, this one, I'm like, all right, we can figure this out. And then it would just be going, like, a step further is, like, getting that true number that you need. And then just doing some like back-ended calculations on, if you're a realtor this year and you sold 12 homes and had an average sales price, you would know, and you had an average commission, you could divide it out and say like, this is how many homes I probably need to sell in order to reach that goal.
Got it.
That, I think it's hard for most. It's hard for me. My biggest hurdle when making goals is the number, like the goal that I have as far as units can contradict sometimes like your core business values. And I think that's the art of it all. I was just on a call not long ago with Frank from Viral Marketing. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. But we were going over like core values of our business. So he was like, hey Chris, what makes you feel the happiest? And we were going through this like hour-long conversation, and it was really cool. So I started writing down like all my things that make me happy, and it was like having control of my time, being able to be anywhere at any time and still run my business, having time every day to think and pray, and control my time like that. And so what I found is when I was making my goals, I'd come up with a unit of what I'm trying to accomplish. Then I had my core values of like free time, control your time, and it can contradict like what your unit volume is. And I'm like, okay, how do you get control time if 78% of your business is buyers? So then you start realizing, then you got to do like a reconciliation process of these are the units I want to accomplish my goals. These are my core values of how I want to live my life. And then that's where the reconciliation comes in of like, how do I structure this from a businessman of like, those are the units I want to do. These are my core values of what I won't give up. And then that's where you figure out what your profit is. Cause you don't want to be a sellout.
Yeah.
Like I think, for example, like I don't have kids, but people who have kids, I'm sure their goals are much different than mine. But I could see like if I had a kid and they had like volleyball or baseball, I'd be like, hey, I kind of want to go to all those games.
Right.
Absolutely. But then like they start writing down these units and like, oh, I want to close 120 units, but then that contradicts their core values. And And I think they start stopping. They're like, oh, well, to close 120 units, I can't go to my kid's game. And I'm like, no, you've got to go to the next level. It was your goals, it was your values, and now you got to figure out how to run a business around it. And that's just where you got to figure out leverage and truly like how to get to your goals. Because I don't think that either one of them are a yes or a no. It's like you can have your goals, you can have your core values. Now your profit margin might just change by accomplishing all that.
Yeah. So they may just need to sell 5 houses that are $5 million each.
Sure. And that's
Get your time back, right?
that's a good goal. If you can figure out how to do it, do it. But yeah, no, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That way. I was just throwing it out there. The math problem that always got me was when the train leaves the station at 1 o'clock, going 60 miles an hour.
I know.
Those are always
When
tough.
that one started in school, I was like, whoa, they ain't getting an answer from me. And they didn't.
And you know what? Why do you even need to know that now?
Exactly.
You just pull it up on your iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't work for me. It didn't work for me.
Anyway, yeah, we digress. So your team is going through this process right now
We are.
for this next
Yeah.
year, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Where are you looking at, how are you making big changes? Like, where are you seeing an area that you definitely feel like, you know what, we need to do something a little different there?
Probably with our network. I don't, 37, you'd think I would do more like internet stuff, but I don't. So that's why I brought in viral marketing. I think like our people who know us need to hear they need to hear our message. I do a lot of like postcards. I do a lot of old school stuff and it works and I'm not stopping it. But we're like doubling down on our core group of people and hearing our message. We've got a lot of marketing going on right now. I mean, you can't turn on the TV. I mean, it's your phone's ringing right now for people trying to buy your house. It's every billboard you pass on the 101. It's sponsored of some of our biggest franchises. It just never ends. So I'm like, if we're not in front of this preaching the message
Right.
and being the person that our network calls to ask questions, then we're going to lose it. And we've really over the last 5 months have seen some big changes with the market and some of the companies that people are calling. And we're just trying to control the message because we want to make sure that we're letting people know, hey, we're not running from it, nor should we. Like, hey, here's what's out there. Here's all the options you have to sell your house. And now how can we be the one that does this every day and sees the internal workings of all these companies? Like, how can we ultimately net you the most money? And that's interesting because we still want to play that position of like 3 years ago where like no one's trying to like talk about that stuff. And that might have worked 3 years ago, but anymore, like your clients know it and they should. And you should be able to intelligently speak about every single company out there and what their options are. And are those better options or is yours a better option? And I think that's what we as realtors are going to go through for the next many years.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely.
I think we're going to play more of the real estate consultant role. I just think we need to control the conversation.
Which is really what it should be.
It should. It really should. Like at the end of the day, that's how it should go down. I mean, the consumers should always control the market, in my opinion, and we should be offering a service that helps them. So thankfully, with all the companies that are coming in, the more that come in that are buying your house as cash or, buy it then sell, the more that come in is actually more that we're needed again. If there was just one company out there that was playing that role, then that would be, interesting. Now that there's 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, they're almost becoming so many. It's like, oh, what do you need now again? Like a real estate advisor. Like you're doing this once again every 8 years. There's 8 companies that are kind of playing this role in different fashions. They all have their own little, special sauce to them, but they all kind of have a core thing to them. And I think the more companies that come out like that we still always have our role.
Right.
We see this every single day, with hundreds of houses. So like you're still going to need to talk to somebody about this that's on your side. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the biggest changes we see. And it's just getting our network of people to know that we're still here. We know about these companies. We're going to tell you about these companies. And here's our option. Here's their options. And we can be a part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and some of those companies don't last even. I think Purple Bricks wasn't around very long.
Sure.
I don't know if Knock is still around. Who knows?
I think they are.
Are they?
Yeah.
I never see anything from them anymore.
are.
But so this viral marketing
Yeah.
that you're working with now, it's, if I remember right, are they video?
They are.
Okay.
So what's cool about it is Frank owns the company, and he is somebody who, he has a company, and what's good about it is we think that we can do it ourselves, right? And we can. Like, I can make a video, I can send it out, I know how to do mass email. Will I? Probably not. So it was cool because when I signed up with the company, he sent me the lights, he sent me the microphone, anything I could have still, I could have got it. I wouldn't have did it. So they're almost a platform that holds you accountable to making your videos, and then they send them out for you.
Got it.
And you're sitting there talking to your camera, your webcam while they're on, and you're just kind of having a conversation with them, and then they're editing it so that it looks good, and then sending it out for you.
That's
Got
cool.
it.
And so it's a good way to send 2 or 3 messages a month that are pertinent to whatever the topic is. Like right now, everybody's talking about like the market shifting. It's funny how you go from like 4,500 homes to 6,500 homes or whatever it is right now. All of a sudden, the market's shifting.
Almost 8,000.
There you go. So 8,000.
But still, what?
So, you go back several years ago. And
Still less than half of what is normal.
yeah. So you're just controlling the conversation, and with us talking to so many people today or internet leads, I feel like we get a pulse of what their, not objections are, but what their concerns are. And then you just make a video about it and put it in front of them. And then you feel like you're controlling the conversation. And then you're allowing them to email you and ask questions. And so really, I think we just have to, going in the future, I think we have to control, and I say control a lot, I don't even want to use that word anymore. But I think we have to deliver, we have to be our own mini news network, through social media, through emails.
Yeah.
We have to.
We're all kind of a media company.
We
if you
are.
will.
Like, that's ultimately what we are. And so, like, we hired Viral to play that role in our company because, like, we could do it. I don't want to do it. So for the amount that we pay them, it's like, okay, not only are you guys editing these, you're doing the copyright below them of what we're saying, and then you're also, like, holding me accountable to do the video. And I think that, like, not only are they the coach role, but they're the technical role.
Yeah.
And I need
Yeah.
both.
So it's mostly going out via email then, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And it can't be found anywhere else on the internet. It's just being sent out to them.
Correct.
Basically.
Well, no, it's still going on our social media.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes out on your social media, goes out via email, and then, but yeah,
It's important to stay in front of people.
It
for
is.
Sure. For sure.
it is.
I remember, we had somebody on, this has been a long time ago, but I remember he was talking about how, an agent here in the Valley, about how so many people were asking about the iBuyer stuff. And, actually going with an iBuyer, let's say. And his whole thing was, I felt like I was the one that let them down because I didn't educate them on what this whole iBuyer thing is.
Yeah.
And so he did a video and they sent it out.
Yeah,
I think that was Ken
That's just
Klaus.
it. I mean,
I think maybe it was.
Yeah.
When I do the numbers for my clients, like, the net's still not there. Like, it's still usually to sell with a realtor and have a commission involved. You're still usually going to make a significant amount more net. And I think what we're finding out is not everyone is as concerned about net as you'd think. And that's fine.
Which blows my mind.
It blows.
But yeah.
It blows my mind too. But
I mean,
still,
you're
I
talking
think,
about the largest transaction in your life, and
But what's great about it, I think, is what we're finding out is, that's my thought process too, is why would people just walk away from this money, especially in a market where things were selling in like 3 days or 2 or 1 hour.
Convenience.
Yeah. So you just go that direction. So I think now, like, we have to be the one that asks people, like, hey, are you trying to get maximum value like I've always been able to deliver for you? Or do you want the convenience? And let the market speak. And when they speak, have the options for them. Hey, here's where we can go to get you full market value and the highest net in your pocket. Here's the route we can go. If you're trying to get convenience, you're probably going to get a lower net, but it's an option. And then just give them their options and go that route.
Sure.
yeah.
Or have investors behind you.
Yeah, and we do. So, like, I have people who actually will make offers on their houses. We all can go to any of the other big companies and still figure out how to make a dollar off of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we just have to be more skilled, and I'm thankful for that because that's going to keep the realtors that want to stay on top of the industry and be the best at what they're doing. They're going to stay in the industry. Some might not stay, and that's fine.
But I don't see how we can all stay.
Yeah.
I mean, the last I heard, the numbers were up to what, like some 90,000 agents or something now. I don't know if that's the state of Arizona or if that's just Phoenix or what, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's just not possible.
Yeah, I think where we're trying to go now in our, like, when we're doing our business planning is we might be the one realtor they're bringing to the table. You know, for years, I've been doing this for 16 years. Like when you, like that was your core group of people. Like you were their go-to to buy and sell. Now you might be their go-to to talk to about the market if they go the realtor. Like you're their number one realtor, but are you their choice of selling their house? And I think that's blowing people's mind to actually question now that you might be their favorite realtor, but is that the route they're going to go to sell their house? And I still am a proponent of like they still need somebody on their side that's not as emotional maybe about the process, knows the ins and outs, still is a fiduciary for them, and still wants to represent them fairly. And so that's where I think our value still stays. I think it's just a little bit more challenging. And I don't think that I don't think if you don't know how to sit at a kitchen table and have a good presentation and be able to talk about quote unquote your competition or your allies, and go over all the details of them, you might not win.
No.
But then next year, maybe there's 67,000 homes on the market and the game's changed. That's what's also really cool about real estate is 16 years of doing this. You know, I remember doing short sales for people. I remember, Fannie Mae hiring me to sell their REO properties. I think there was like 37,000 homes on the market at one time, if I'm not mistaken. And then you go to a market where there's 3,500 homes on the market. So like anything you say today could be in a year totally different. And that's the art of real estate. It's just knowing that it's always moving and you just got to stay on top of it.
If we went from 7,000 to 30,000 in a year, man,
be buying a lot of investment properties.
I guess we'd be looking at 2008.
Don't see it happening, but I guess the point is could it happen?
Changing,
sure,
right?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, even some of the conversations we were having 2 and 3 months ago with our clients have already changed and changed slightly. But I mean, that's how a conversation. Most of them aren't drastic conversations when you think about it. They change a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and then a year goes, and 2 years, and then 4 years, and all of a sudden you're having a totally different conversation, and we don't even remember the conversation we were having 4 years ago.
Right, right. Yeah, the real estate market is like a cruise ship, right? It turns really slowly.
Yeah, and
but
all of a sudden
you wake up a year from now, you're like, whoa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you guys are getting ready for the next year. What we talked about the marketing a little bit. You also mentioned referrals too, though, right? So a big part of yours is referrals. Yeah,
always has been 94% of our business, and that's that doesn't change throughout the years. It's pretty consistent. We're and I'm not even the best at keeping in contact with people.
Well, now you're going to be. You're going to get videos in front of them.
Well, we're getting better. Yeah, that's all we can do is be better. Like I saw that as a weakness, is I'm not a. I don't just naturally go out and talk to a lot of people today. I'm an introvert by nature. Mm-hmm. And so we're just trying to get better at like telling and for their sake, we're trying to get them the information from somebody who, knows the market.
Yeah.
But yeah, referrals has always been our thing. We get many, thankfully. Like and we're always so appreciative of them because we do, the Google pay-per-click, and we do, we have the Zillow Flex account. And then you just get this blessing once every day or two of this text message that comes in.
Right.
And it's like, hey, my mom wants to buy a house. Mm-hmm. And what we're trying to capture in our office anymore is how cool that is. Like what a responsibility that it is that somebody gave somebody your name or said, hey, call this person. And I don't think until people have did the pay-per-click game or the Zillow Flex account or any other type open houses, you do all these things, you spend so much time doing them, or like the online lead that you follow up for 7 months and then they bought you somebody else, and I'm like this gift just comes in, hey, my mom wants to buy a house. You're like, cool, I'm gonna call them right now, thank you so much for sending me the referral. It's people like you that keep me in business, and I'll always remember that, because that's like true in our office. That's truly how we think of it. Like I will always tell people, like, this is why we stay in business, and I will always remember it. Like that's special to me.
Absolutely.
We send them a card, them a card letting them know we thank them for, their gift to us. And also really keeping some decent systems to follow up with that referral and letting them know where it's at. When they like don't qualify for a house or need some work. That's a delicate one because you're not trying to tell people's information, but you got to kind of let them know, like, hey, I was on top of it. I did my part. And just throughout the transaction, just letting them know, like, I appreciate you. Like, hey, we're under contract. Or, hey, we got to the appraisal. We're coasting now. We're getting to the end. When we close, it's like, hey, we just closed. I just gave them their keys. Here's, not only is the picture going on Facebook, but you're texting them and you're like, here's your friends. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
you know,
that's awesome.
they got good service.
It's good.
So like we take that like we're so connected to that feeling, because we do, like when I get it, I'll, like when I'm training agents, like I take text messages and I'll send it to my agents, like that's it. Like we're going for that. Like we need 80, 90, 100 of those a year, because that's where the business is at.
It's like the most rewarding, right? Plus, if people keep in contact with the right people, right, in their database, then it's also one of the easiest ways to get business, if you think about it.
Sure, and it's
most rewarding and easiest.
It's the most rewarding and the easiest, but yet, you know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if everybody gets a lot of referrals. I talked to realtors who have been doing this business for a long time. Like they don't have that many referrals. One, I would say maybe you have to up your skill and your service. Two, maybe follow up with them more. But I have to say, I don't follow up with my network as much as others do, and yet we still have a very high level of referrals. So I would really think that it is truly first, like a high level of customer service.
Yeah.
That you don't have to follow up with this person like every month and ask them for business. That they just think like, dang, like in 6 months after you close or a year after you, and they have somebody who wants to buy or sell, like they're thinking like, I want to give that person that same experience. So I think that that's ultimately the first thing, is just like great customer service. And then after that, some communication that you're keeping in contact with them in a non-salesy way.
Yeah. Okay. Now, last time you were here, you talked about your team structure. It's basically you and your wife and your wife's mom? Or
Yep. So it's me, my wife, my mother-in-law is my assistant and property manager, and then we've got about 4 team members that produce.
Okay.
So like this year, I did 63, I believe, personal units myself, and then my teams did I think 65. So, and that's with them 4. So next year I would like to do 104 personally, and then I would like the team to do 100. So our goal is 204 for next year. As of right now, that's what for the last few days we've been like kind of trying to concrete. I won't put a stamp on it until the very end, but like that's what I've put down as 100 team, 104 me, and now I'm working through it in prayer and trying to figure out if I'm putting the stamp on it. Because when I put the stamp on it, that's like me saying the first round is just, this is my thought process of what I would like to do. The stamps, when I've looked at it, I've thought about it, I've prayed about it, I'm like, this is it. And when that's it, that's when I kind of go into like another gear, and I'm like, that's what we got to accomplish. Now, whether we do or not is up to a lot of things, but like it hasn't got the stamp yet. But 100 for the team, 104 for me. And then to kind of go back to goal setting, you can kind of see how I process that. Like I know my burn rate, it's not that high. I know what my freedom number is. I need a certain amount to just go have a fun life. And I know I want to buy more rental properties next year, so I got to have extra. And then I got to times that by 40%. Ooh, that's a lot. And then you got to look at that and say, like, and then I got to divide it out by my numbers, and I know how many units I want to. And that's where it gets contradicting, because when you look at 204 units, and then I told you my core values are like control my time, and I go over all that, I'm like, that's contradicting. So I've reconciled it. So the first thing I thought of was, for me personally, to do 104 and 76% of my business to be buyers, like that's
a lot of time.
So there you go. So now I reconcile. So I'm like, where's my biggest challenge is going to be to stay in my core values and still accomplish that? What do I have to do? I already have it. You know, I hired 2 showing partners that are on salary. And so we're going to go play it at a big level and say like, hey, we're banking those salaries, but I already know like if I want to go accomplish that, I want that goal. I've got those values, and that's how you reconcile and get both of them. Otherwise I could just sit back and be like, oh, well, like I kind of like to control my time, so I can't get that. Or I need to lower that so I can control my time. And I'm like, I went to a mastermind probably 2 months ago, and Ronnie Dawes was speaking there. And if you guys haven't heard him, look him up on Instagram. And he said, make a game plan like the answer is always yes. Kind of changed the way I thought of it.
There's a movie about that too. You know?
Yeah. So, okay.
Yes, man.
okay. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, what if the answer was always yes? So it's like, make a plan without thinking of all the complexities. You're going to get hit in the teeth a month later, but like make the plan as if life was perfect. And so when I said, okay, 204, and then this is what I want, my values of my business life. And then I said, these are the things that I need to set up to still have that, like showing partners. So I was like looking at it like, what if the answer was always yes? Like if I just made this plan and it worked perfectly, there you go. So we implemented that probably about 2 months ago. Now it's worked well.
Wow.
So you can get back, as a realtor, you can get back some of that life of not having to always be on call and show homes, but there's somebody out there who's ready to hold your standards and show homes the way you would. And you can still be in control of the, contract writing, negotiation. Really the art of my brain is like, hey, how do we put this deal together? I'm not really like the master of getting you into the house. And so I realized that like my art isn't like, ooh, man, master lock or what? Like, ooh, I probably turn this one this way. Like, that's not my skill. So, like, they can get people into the house, and I can then use my brain creatively to say, like, this is how we should structure it in this market and get it accepted.
So, are those two people?
Yeah.
Are they 2 of the 4 that you have, or is that 2 more?
No, those are just the
separate.
4 of the team. So, out of the ones we want to do for the team, that's just through those 4. So, anything that I talk team goals is through the 4, and then my personal 104 that I want to do next year is going to be through me and my 2 showing assistants. Because as I was going through, I had to decide, like, I can't close that many buyers and still have the quality of life that I need.
Right.
So that's how I reconciled, and that's what I had to do. But I mean, you have to place your bets. I mean, that's a salary, but that's where you can hit your goals and also get what you want out of life.
It. And that's where you think you're going to land for next year, for 2022, as far as team structure. That's going to be all you pretty much need for that.
100 through the team of 4, and then 104 through me with the 2 showing partners. I think that we can accomplish that, because when I look at like a buyer transaction, I mean, 80% of the work is showing the house, 20% of the work is structuring the deal and getting it to actually close. So I feel that if I did 60 without the showing partners, I should be able to do 104 with 2 showing partners.
Yeah.
So
okay,
it's kind of
that's great. That's great. So as we get closer to the end of the year, and the agents that are watching or listening right now, is there? Some people can't just put this together themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Is there a book or a training, or is there anything out there that could be helpful for agents in setting their goals?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, you're kind of putting it together on your own, it sounds like. But
I mean, if they email me, I have a video that my agents have to watch when they start. It's like 25 minutes. That's pretty much what I just said. But I mean, that's what they have to go through, because like I'm really trying to get even my agents like connect with those goals. Don't just throw out this number because you thought that sounded like a great number. I mean, is that still a great number with inflation? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need to recalculate these numbers. Like, is $100,000 really a lot of money anymore? I don't know. You decide. But like, you have to know what those are. So I think like in my training that I have for my agents, it's broken down. I mean, we have it animated, and it's like, how do you write down your monthly budget? Like, I don't go Dave Ramsey on them, even though that's good for people and they can go down that section if they want. But like, I'm trying to get them to understand, like, hey, here's my lifestyle, not cut out. Like, go produce. Instead of like cut out and like don't live your life you want, like put your life on paper and go produce it. Go make enough to actually go accomplish it. And I think some people they write these, all their stuff down, and then they go to the scarcity mode of like, oh, I'm going to get rid of this and this and this. I'm like, no, like, it's so much easier to like have the life you want and just go produce this. So no, someone can email me and I'll email them the video.
All right. Cool. So if an agent wants to reach out to you, how go ahead and give us what email or whatever.
Chris@soldbybowers.com.
That's easy enough.
Yeah. And that's where I'll just email it to them, and I give it to agents all the time when they ask me to go to coffee or how to, and I'll just send them that first and be like, hey, start there and see what goes on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Sounds good.
Anything else you want to share with agents, or that they need to know for sure before we move to the next segment?
No, I just want them to like actually have goals and get them, and don't think of anybody else but yourself when you make them. It's not a stage award. It's not anybody else. It's a you and what you're trying to accomplish, and go get that. No matter how many units that means, just go get it.
Oh, I do have a question for you.
What's that?
Because you're a husband and wife team.
We are.
So I know there are a lot of husband and wife teams in the real estate and mortgage world and all that too. So how difficult is it to have both of you on the same page as far as goal setting?
Good one. That's a good question. So we have Glenn Neely as my coach. He's probably been one of the top 3 things that I did in 16 years of selling real estate. He's really nice because I meet with him almost every Wednesday, and so does Brittany, my wife. And so he's he's a good person to have in the mix. I think when you're a husband and wife team, he plays kind of this, I don't want to say counselor. I mean, me and my wife have a fabulous relationship, but like he plays this business moderator where some days I'm on there and I'm telling him some things I'm having challenges with, and he's giving me, hey, this is what you should do next. There's some days where I'm literally just venting with him, like I'm being an absolute baby, and he's just trying to get through it and like consult me. It's good for Brittany to be on those calls too, because she has some, things that she talks about. And I'd have to say though, like even Brittany, it would be fair to say, like I'm the like, I make those goals. It's just my role. Like when we look at our disc profiles, like I'm the driver. So like I make the goals, and then she has a role for our company that's really manage the team. So like any of the like, hey, here's the team goals, she keeps that running through like the accountability meetings with them every Thursday that she does. That I couldn't do that. So like she does that avenue. I do the personal production of like the 104 that I was talking about. But it's not hard. We're setting up some more boundaries now, just with trying to do certain things where we don't talk about work. It's such a natural part of, between the real estate business, the rental properties, it all molds together. You do got to find some boundaries where you don't talk about it, but we manage.
Good.
But I really don't sit down with her and make the goals. That's more of my thing. I don't know. She probably still has fun doing her things, but like I go on the back patio and drink coffee, read my Bible, set my goals. Like that's just my jam. That's what I'm doing for fun. I do that on a Saturday night and actually have a ton of fun doing it. So I just tell her the goals, and then we have spreadsheets that we got to follow. And we have it's broken down to, we know exactly what we have to earn a day. So like whatever I said for my goal number is a goal number, and then we calculate it into 365. And it goes on a spreadsheet. Like every deal we put together, it's calculated, divided by 365. We know like what we're at on average, and we don't like take that lightly. And so we know when we need to like put on the gas, and we've got to get this up a little bit. And we know we're like, hey, we're doing good. Like let's jam out for 3 days and go on a vacation. So,
right.
But
wow,
it's a fun gig working with her. It really is a blessing. I know a lot of people, when they ask the question, it usually comes from like, how do we do it? Mm-hmm. And I always come from the, like, I'm so thankful we get to do it. Like we both have still very good quality of lives. It's nice sometimes having to work more than you would have to work at a job, but also nice having no rules that you can go take off. And it's nice that neither one of us has to, like that she doesn't have to go to like a corporate job or another job, that we just have to manage our time between each other. So
makes sense. Appreciate it.
Good stuff.
All right. Oh, we need to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Security Title Agency and Fidelity National Home Warranty. Are you ready to get in the ring?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Let's see if we have something new on here. So you just mentioned taking a vacation, if you want to just get out. So where's one place that you guys really want to go to next?
I have to say my go-to is Huntington Beach. Like I can get to that spot all the time. So that's my natural. If I need a 3-day getaway, it's Huntington Beach always. I know exactly where I'm going to eat, where I'm going to stay. That's my favorite spot.
How did that become your favorite spot?
We went to Disneyland probably 4 years ago. And before we were coming home, like 9 a.m. we were driving this time, and we were like, hey, let's go see the beach before we go. We went up to Huntington Beach. It was like 25, 30 minutes away. And we stayed there, and we had a good time. We were like, hey, let's not even go back home.
You said where you would eat. So where would you eat?
We go to this bar called American Dream.
Okay.
And you just eat and you overlook the water. I don't even need to go to the beach. As long as I can see the water and have my computer and my thoughts, all is good.
All right. Sweet.
So I don't know if that's where I didn't answer your question, but that's my go-to.
That's your go-to.
That's my go-to.
But if you guys were ready to plan your next week-long getaway.
Well, I think my wife keeps saying like Greece or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's been like a few years she's been saying that. So maybe
sounds like a good one.
I might need to look at her goals and see what those are so we can go. So maybe I'm going to ask her that tonight.
Would you throw her vision board in the closet, did you? How about, what's the best advice that anyone's ever given you?
The best advice? Probably to accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. That's ultimately why I'm here on this earth. And so I will always go back to that. I still, to the core, that's the only reason I'm here. I find that real estate I was just talking to one of my clients the other day. I'm not an extrovert. So I don't think if I had like a 9 to 5, I wouldn't probably go out and meet people and seek people. So I think real estate's probably the best way for me to get in front of people. And then I meet some of the greatest people. And I was just talking to one of my clients about this the other day, and it was that we were talking about church and God and how, meet some of the coolest people in real estate. So, that'd probably be my best advice. That's my core.
It doesn't get any better, right?
That's my core
That's the
principles, and that's what I'll always probably say to that question.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Cool.
Second time. So, agents, if you haven't seen the first one, go to theweeklycloser.com. You can search for Chris Bowers, and you can see his first episode. And then I'm sure they all enjoy this one as well. Right. So make your goals.
Yes.
Crush them.
The right way. All right, agents. Until next time, we'll see you later. Have a great one. Take care.